Me first! Me first! Hi, I'm Taylor.
I'm Robert.
I'm Anna! Ah! What time is it? Never mind, I don't want to know. I don't. Oh.
Hello. Sandra Cisneros, right?
Yes.
Yes, this is about a girl turning 11.
It's based the day is her birthday, actually.
Yes.
So, what it encompasses this girl who's 11. She's gone to school. The teacher finds this raggedy old red sweater in
Makes
the
her put
closet.
it on.
And
Because she's convinced it's hers.
yeah, the teacher's convinced it's hers. But that's not really what the issue is in the story, is it?
No, I think the story deals with as you grow older, you kind of wish that you were younger because she's sitting there saying how she's 11, but she's also
10,
10,
11,
yeah,
9, 8,
at the same
7.
time, and so when she finally breaks down and cries, she realizes that she's 11 instead of 10.
But she's not courageous enough to stand up to this teacher.
Right, and tell her,
she's
no,
older.
it's not mine.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of, I feel like what it's saying is that when we're in a situation that's humiliating or we're in a situation that has any sort of unnecessary pressure, we feel like we're a lot younger and we can feel as young as
Right.
even though.
She breaks down and cries like she's 3 years.
When I was in 3rd grade, my teacher decided that she wanted me to eat my oranges. I was really sick, and I said, no, I don't want to eat my oranges, I don't feel good. And she said, no, eat your oranges. And so I did what she said, and I ate my oranges. And then I threw up all over her floor. And she pushed me out the door, outside. And it was the most unteacherly, motherly-like thing that she could have possibly done, especially when you're in 3rd grade. You just want someone to give you a hug, even though you're covered in vomit. All right, a man who was almost a man.
Richard Wright.
Yes.
It's once again a story of a young child who wants to be older and wants to have that
Right.
freedom and responsibility.
He wants that
That's it.
shotgun real bad.
It's not a shotgun, it's a revolver.
Oh.
Revolver.
Excuse me.
Get your gun straight. The main theme of Dave wants this gun. I mean, that's what the main top of the iceberg is.
That is greed, I guess, or desire, not greed. Desire.
The desire for this gun. However, you go deeper into this, and it's really Dave trying to deal with these underlying themes of racism and trying to find self-identity. And that's his desire. I mean, we saw that in 11. But I mean, there's Dave's black, and he works for a white farmer. Richard Wright really works the whole race issue into the story a lot. He does not combine the two. If he talks about one race or the other, it's Dave saw both white and black faces in the crowd, or saw them blurred. And Dave, with this gun, what he thought he thought it gave him the power to kill any man, whether it be black or white,
Right.
as long as he was carrying it. And he was just looking for that empowerment.
And he thought that it was going to give him so much, but really it took quite a bit away. I think when you look at the end of the story, especially the title, The Man Who's Almost a Man, in the end he ends up running away.
Right.
Which, I mean, the saying would go that a man would stay and fight, but he runs away. So he just tries to get away from his problems after he's done something that isn't good. I mean, okay, does this relate? I mean, have any of you ever felt like this before? You wanted so badly to get something and everyone told you no, and you finally did it because you didn't listen, and then it just completely blew up in your face, and everybody had told you, but you had to do it anyway, and it did blow up.
Yes. So there was a point in my childhood where I had the desire to attempt to be older than I was. I didn't necessarily go out and buy a left-handed revolver for $2 from the general store guy, because, well, A, I live in a city and we don't have general stores anymore, and B, guns don't cost $2 anymore, let's be honest. But I had the great idea that when I was in 6th grade, I could drive myself to McDonald's for breakfast one morning while my parents were gone to work. So I left, and I came back, and there in the driveway sits my grandmother's red convertible, and I panicked, and I kind of reverted to that point where I felt like if I just closed my eyes, then everything would just go back to being normal. You know, I wouldn't be in trouble. That was kind of my first attempt to be something I wasn't, an older man, or an older boy at that point. It's about a Asian family. The dad, Ralph, owns a pancake house, but he runs it kind of like ideally, like he wants to run it like his grandfather ran the village that he came.
It kind of, and obviously the story is split into 2 parts, so it's contrasting how Ralph acts when he's in charge and it's, everything is run the way he's used to, and then Ralph in the American society, which is foreign to him, and he isn't used to that. He hasn't necessarily been quite into how our society is structured, so it's kind of contrasting because it affects how he acts just in general.
Yeah, and he ends up losing all of his workers, and then finally, when he does get to hire people who are willing to work with him, he wants them to become very close to him.
They become his boys, the sons that he never had, that he has 2 daughters, and he starts to rely on them a lot in working and within very little immigrants, workers who were quitting criminal jobs called immigration, Ralph hired with the immigrants. And so that was also his view. I can just bribe you to talk to this judge, right? I can just bribe him and not get jail. Which, in American school, very fair to say, in Asian countries where education is not as rigid as it would be here, that would usually be something.
And there's language barriers, there's complete different societal barriers.
I feel like this story can be representative of a lot of first-generation American families now with that language that would struggle to assimilate into American culture.
Right. It's interesting too, obviously, to see the generational differences, just because in the story, the 2 daughters have a much easier time of getting along well in American society in particular. I think the younger one is popular at school and she has friends there, so she fits in because she's been raised there, so it's not as strange to her because she's used to it and because she's grown up with that. So obviously that's still affects her.
Okay, Eddie and Trudy are siblings.
No.
Right, no. Oh, wait. Yes, they are, but Eddie's a half-brother to
Yes.
Trudy.
Eddie's Trudy's
And
half-brother.
Billy, okay, so Billy and Trudy are the ones that are there with Nick.
Yeah, and
Yes.
they're siblings.
They're siblings.
Right. And Trudy and Nick are having sex
Yes.
a lot. Oh, something depressing about this story. Finally, like, you kind of forget in the middle of the story that it's Nick at 38 years old remembering all of this stuff. And at the end of the story, it's like, oh yeah, and his son's in the car with him. And his son actually, has to like speak up for him to realize.
Yeah.
Like, it says he forgot that he was there.
Right.
How do you forget that your own son's in the car with you?
I mean, obviously a lot of the stories talking about Nick's father and their relationship, and it's a lot more positive in this story than it is in the other ones that we read.
Yeah.
But, and you get the sense that Nick wants to be a better father, but then at the same time he totally like forgets that his son's in the car until his son starts talking, which is like... So one of the stories that stuck out to me was The Red Convertible. Mostly just because I have a really close relationship with my younger brother, and I can't imagine ever losing that, especially in a situation that's so tragic as the story we read about. So it really is just like, I feel like it's a reminder to cherish relationships while you have them, and especially we take relationships with our family for granted so often, just because we assume that they'll always be there. So that's something that I really took away from the story, is that you have to really love your family and appreciate them while they're around.
So essentially, we've been reading all these short stories this semester in class,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them have pertained to individual struggles,
Coming of age
coming of
stories.
age. All of Nick Adams was coming of age.
Wanting to grow up
Wanting-
too quickly.
And then gaining insight into yourself, or even into life in general.
I think in a sense some of them go to show you, I mean, I don't want to be all sappy, but like to take advantage of the moments in your life, like not wanting to grow up so quickly that finally you're old and you're like, well dang,
Yeah.
how did I get here? What about the times when I could do certain things that I could get away with when I was younger, while I had the chance.
Yeah.
But not being naive and foolish at the same time.
And along with that comes, and we also have stories that have a lot of underlying racial tension. It's not a taboo subject, but it's still something that's.
And a lot of stories about, and I don't think we really discussed any of these stories, but the stories about sexism,
Right.
like chrysanthemums and
The Yellow Wallpaper.
yellow wallpaper, and there was one more. I don't remember which one it was. It was.
Hills Like White
Hills Like White
It's like
Elephants.
White Elephants.